You're listening to Kay Smythe on KABC, where we move beyond the debate and into discourse with people from all walks of life, designed to save society from itself. Join Kay and her guests as they navigate the toughest conversations and prove that the two-party way of thinking is killing America. As Kay always says, no one can control your freedom or free will but you. With that in mind, let's get into it.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 2 of the Kay Smythe Show here on KABC. It's another beautiful Friday night here in California as everything burns around us. And we really wanted to start this week as we left off last week with my amazing co-host Danny Ho and our incredible guest Lanny June. They're back with us. And we're going to be continuing with the discussion of race because it's only been a week since we last recorded, or I think slightly less than a week since we last recorded, and I'm still just so sick and tired of seeing all my stupid, white followers propagating the rhetoric of the Democratic Party when they're the reason we still have all of these horrific racial issues here in the US. And, well, we also have the same issues in the UK, just less guns. Not that guns are an issue, but, people shooting other people with guns where they're not supposed to be shot, that's an issue. But I really wanted to get down to the brass tacks on this, ladies and gentlemen, and whoever else is out there, because right now, and just always, it seems to be, all my followers just keep talking about how great Joe Biden is when he's just not. He was integral to the crafting of the 1994 crime bill, and he helped create the kind of, quote, mass incarceration that we see here in the United States. And, over the last 30 years, he's done absolutely nothing to actually mitigate the effects of that crime bill. For those of you who maybe don't know, the 1994 crime bill is responsible for, it added, I think it was 60 additional federal offenses, including the death penalty. Oh, sorry, let me scratch that and start again. So, for those of you who maybe don't know about the 1994 crime bill because you were, like me, born in 1993 or, around that kind of time, us millennials, if you will, there are 3 kind of big areas that the 1994 crime bill really touched upon in the lives of minorities here in the US. So it added the death penalty for 60 additional federal offenses. So prior to the 1994 bill, it was actually pretty hard to get the death penalty. And then after the 1994 crime bill, a lot more people started getting sentenced to death. I'm not necessarily against the death penalty, actually, as it turns out. I don't know, though. I just tried to watch that movie Cuties, and now I'm feeling like the death penalty is actually super, super required for a lot of people in this country and pretty much anyone in the rest of the world who thinks that a movie like that is appropriate. The 1994 crime bill also imposed mandatory life sentences, and there are people still serving time for the crimes that are now legal in some states because they were forced into the mandatory life sentence. And the 1994 crime bill also was specifically designed to target young Americans in such a way that their youthful indiscretions followed them throughout their adult lives. So when Joe Biden then served under Barack Obama in the last presidency, he didn't do anything to kind of mitigate those issues. He just didn't. He didn't try to fix any of these issues that he's now campaigning saying he's going to fix. He had a chance to fix them before he didn't. And now he's also running with someone who I find personally disgusting, which is Kamala Harris. I remember when, less than a year ago, I think it was, Kamala Harris went on The Breakfast Club and joked about smoking pot and listening to Tupac in college, even though she likes to put black citizens in prison for smoking cannabis, or did up until quite recently in California. And also, she's so old that Tupac wasn't even a recording artist when she was in college. So she's also inherently uncool and a complete loser for coming out with that. She's literally so stupid that she can't even keep up with her own lies. And this is the person that you want to have as the second in command of the country, which is just hysterical to me. And if I've said it once, I've said it a million times. Someone just really needs to shut her up, because she's basically doing to the Democratic Party what Hillary did during the last campaign, which is literally turn everyone off, because she's a hypocrite. And honestly, anyone listening today, I'm going to put my own money up for this. If you honestly think you can change my mind on Biden and Harris being the best nominees for president from a racial perspective, if you can change my mind, I'll give you $1,000 and I will have you come on this show to debate me about it live. And I'm so confident that there's no one out there who's going to be able to do that, that's what I'm willing to do. So that's how I wanted to start the show today, by just kind of contextualizing how your vote isn't going to change anything if you vote for the Democrats this year, because they've had more than enough opportunity to make those changes and they haven't done anything about it. So that's my little tangent, my little filibuster for this morning, or this evening, I should say, since this is going out at 10 o'clock in the night. So I'm sorry if I've just ruined your kind of relaxing wind down to sleep. Not sorry. Please don't vote for these people. They're liars. But I guess the big thing that I wanted to get into today with my guests and my co-host is talking about definitely race. Like, I definitely want to get back into that and carry on with the conversation about how we experience race in this country. Me as an immigrant, you guys as Korean Americans, and I guess, were you second or first generation? I'm trying to work that out.
I guess the term is 1.5.
Right.
For us.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't know what the specifics are to that. I think, because I was born in Cincinnati, born in the country, but I'm still considered a 1.5 generation, or am I not?
I'm considered a second generation. Yeah, because I'm born here. So
Is that? Wouldn't you be first generation if you take it that way? If you're born in this country and your parents are born in Korea, we really shouldn't be your first guest on your radio show.
Well, no, I was actually going to use this as a great. This just perfectly contextualizes it, because for me as a Brit, when I first moved out here, if someone had asked me what race you guys were, I'd have been like, guys, they're American.
Right.
Like, I don't really know what else I'm supposed to say here. Like, they're American. And then someone would be like, no, but like, where are they from? And I'll be like,
that question,
America?
That question right there, where are you from? Mm-hmm. And the easy answer is LA, because that's where I'm from. Oh, right. Where are you really from? Oh, sorry, I was born in Cincinnati. Oh, no. Where are you really from? Damn it, sorry.
Can we... Okay, we can. Okay, we've just heard that we can bleep that, so that's all good.
Sorry. So it's, that question is absolutely charged because of the history that comes with that question. But recently we were in Utah, right? And that kind of question kind of came about with the owners of the Airbnb, and this was an older gentleman. But it didn't bother me when he said, "Where are you from?" Or he actually came up with a phone. He came up to me with his cell phone and says, "Oh, here's some Asians." And he was mentioning some past people who stayed at his Airbnb. And it wasn't like, it wasn't a racially charged comment. It was just a comment saying, these people were just so happened to be Asian and they were my guests. Mm-hmm. And so I guess my point is again, going back to the idea of knowing the genesis of where this person comes from, is if you're able to understand that, then maybe we can see past just the rhetoric of where are you from, right?
Okay, so this I'm going to use to transition into a pretty intense discussion, but I want to go back to that point of, because I know that you this week have had a lot of grief as it relates to race and racism in especially out here in Hollywood. But I think you've touched on a really interesting point. You talked about Genesis. So one of the things that I've been reading a lot, because obviously, I had to prep for the show. One of the big things that has really concerned me this week, again, taking this back to politics, is the fact that the Biden campaign are kind of perpetuating the kind of tokenism of, I don't know if you guys have seen this, that they've gone and visited that guy, was it Jacob Blake? Because he is a black man who was shot by a cop. So that's like surface level, right? That sounds great. Okay, yeah, the Democrats, who are nothing like the show The West Wing, if you're listening to this. Like, the Democrats aren't anything like The West Wing. That's fiction. The Democrats are actually just like heinous lizard monsters. But but they went to visit this man because on a kind of like token surface level, it seems like a good thing to do. But they've also completely ignored the fact that this is a guy who the police were called on him because he was raping someone.
Consistently, yeah.
Right. If you are a big fan of KABC and you listen to the Ben Shapiro show, he talks about it, I think, far more eloquently than I could. But here's a man who has repeatedly committed violent, horrific crimes against women. he was, shot by the police. Do I think that people should be shot? No, I don't think people should be shot in general. I think that, everyone should be given their due process. But what we're doing is holding him up on a platform while completely ignoring this huge backstory. So in the same way that we can take wonderful people like the gentleman that we rented the Airbnb from in Utah, who, he literally came up with a phone and was like, oh, look, here's some Asians. Right. Like, because we know where that's coming from and the motivation behind it, we know that that's actually a really lovely thing. It's very sweet.
It was the sweetest, most endearing thing that he could have done, because he invited us into his home when he did that, right? He gave us a history of where his whole family was from. It was the most cordial, most inviting thing that he could have done. And what, you're going to tell me because someone who has been so nice to me, because he said that one comment, which I should be racially upset about, I'm supposed to deem this person a bad person?
So when we come back after the break, we're going to get into a story from Lanny about some pretty crazy stuff that went down with you this week in a casting session. We're going to be very careful how we talk about this because there are NDAs involved, but, we were kind of debating whether we were going to bring this up in conversation. I think we are now. I think it's fair to say.
Let's go.
So, when we come back after the break, Hollywood's about to get destroyed again, guys.
Well, not too much.
Hey guys, you're back with us here on the Kay Smythe Show on KABC. Once again, I am joined by the enigma that is Danny Ho, my amazing co-host, and Lanny June. Obviously, I have my personal biases for how much I like you, Lanny, but you at home will also like Lanny because you will have seen him in movies such as Baby Driver, but also on hit TV shows like The Big Bang Theory. Prodigal Son was, I think, the most recent one. I got to fly out to New York while you were filming that. That was pretty cool. Earlier this year when we were allowed to travel. Oh yeah, you were there too, Danny. I guess.
Yeah, when
I suppose you were there too. Yeah, I guess you were involved.
Yeah, when New York was littered with Corona.
Oh my gosh, and we didn't get Corona.
Yeah.
Oh wait, didn't we talk about those guys being crazy racist to us in New York last week as well? Yeah. Oh, sorry for the continuity there, guys. But I wanted to talk about an issue that came up this week. So again, for those of you at home, you will have definitely seen Lanny on television. He's one of those faces who you've seen him in everything, and you're brilliant. Like every time, like I always say, like my favorite story, obviously, the story of how we met. I was watching the show Magnum PI. I just want to give a shout out to Zach Knighton for being on that show and getting me into it. Brilliant show, Zach. But Lanny was in an episode and I was kind of sitting there like half playing on my phone, like, put on a show in the background. Then his beautiful face comes up and I was like, what? Who's this guy? He's so handsome. Oh, he's so talented. I'm gonna get him on the gram. Cut to almost a year later, and now we have a dog together.
I know.
And a property, and it's just like ridiculous. So that's why, or one of the reasons why I think I certainly got so fiery about the situation this week. So I don't know if do you want me to kind of describe, or do you want to get into it?
Please lead me in.
So Lanny had a casting session this week for a commercial, and when you go into a commercial audition, there's lots of people in the room, but because of COVID-19, obviously you can't get lots of people in a room at once now, so the whole thing was done via Zoom. And I don't know, Lanny, how is it when you're in an audition and the person holding the audition is a huge racist?
Well, that's jolly. No, it's something that, as I guess a colored person in this country, when you do face something that is blatantly racist, you don't have to say the word specifically. It's not the words, ladies and gentlemen. It's how you are treated when you are grouped together. And that's exactly what happened. Could I be absolutely wrong? Sure. But my gut tells me that I'm absolutely right. Because what had happened was the audition was held in basically a Zoom conference kind of thing, right? So it was me and maybe 10 other people, 10 other actors, 4 of which I've known for a long time, who have been in the industry longer than I have, I mind you. we were basically treated like a bunch of dumb immigrants, if I just might say, right? When you have to explain to us what our job is, and you have to tell us that we've done this before, and when you say certain things like, that's not your name, put your full name down, when you speak to us in this manner, I'm gonna use a race card. Because when it's a bunch of Asian people in a group like that, and it's one person who is not Asian, and you are talking to us that way, yeah, I'm gonna think that way. Mm-hmm. And so this was the response of the casting director. It was a hot day. She was busy. She might have been a bit snooty, but she was stressed out.
So here's a woman who basically spat at a group of professional actors for a business, by the way, casting for a huge multinational corporation.
International, yeah.
Like, huge corporation. She's shouting at you. She's telling you off when you're professionals.
She's literally reading the lines to us.
Jeez.
She's saying, don't yell during the audition while she's barking at us.
Have you ever had anyone speak to you like that in an audition before?
One-on-one, absolutely, and they got my peace of mind. But because you're in a room with other actors, you have to be mindful that these people have done this longer than me, and they need this money at a time during COVID. So I'm not gonna be the one who makes them rattled in that moment, right? This is an important moment for all of us. It's an opportunity to make a lot of money, to represent our community in a certain light, right? This I needed. I needed this job so badly, but I got so angry at the maybe, and the words that are deemed racist. Yeah, they weren't screamed at me, but it's the content, it's the context, it's how we are treated. And I'm done. And as an Asian community, we need to. It's not the words that need to be screamed at us, guys. When we are treated badly, when we're grouped together, you say "ouch." When someone steps on your toes, at least learn how to say ouch.
I mean, do you think, because this is something I've also observed, like I find within my research even, and I talk to my minority clients about this a lot, you know, there's this fear, right? You don't want to become the angry Asian man.
Sure.
Or what a lot of my clients, my academic clients particularly tell me, like if they're annoyed, we'll get on a phone call, say like, I don't know, there was a missing reference or, you know, there's something that they're annoyed about.
Yeah.
When we got on a call, they don't sound annoyed on the phone because they're scared of coming across as the angry black woman. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, but you're angry. And they're like, yeah, but in America, when you are a racial minority and you get mad, you're no longer taken seriously because the people in charge who are predominantly Caucasian will just roll their eyes and be like, oh, it's just another...
Or a statistic.
Just another angry statistic. Yeah,
right.
Literally.
Yeah.
Danny, you have worked in the world of business, probably to more... I don't know. I've had success in the world of business, but I've also had more fights in the world of business than anywhere else. How have you kind of observed, like, because, you know, this woman, I mean, the fact that she's not been fired, like, blows my mind.
He didn't even mention her name in the email.
Yeah, the email that you got from the owner of the company who's supposed to be here protecting you because you make his company money, actually.
And his delivery was, I know what it's like to be behind and in front of the camera.
Yeah, a white boy does not know what it's like.
Exactly. I'm sorry. And the thing is, it's just different circumstances, right? I don't care about the whole white Asian thing at that moment. It's about where we come from at that point. He doesn't have the experiences that I have, and vice versa. So if he came to me in a perspective of something that I didn't have, I would open my ears because I would like to think someone who's been in the industry for 20 years, if they have a perspective that I don't have, I would like to learn it, for crying out loud. But instead, what he did was, it's so unfortunate your experiences in the casting office. That's not my intention.
Ugh.
I hope it doesn't happen again. I've been in this industry 20 years. Blah 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 blah. And
So
then he has
So they justified that condescending attitude with stress
and being
she was
stressed and
without giving an apology.
Exactly. It was just unfortunate. And now, because I'm not gonna sit and just, you know, have the tail in between my legs, I would only imagine he's a little rattled. But the point is, it's like, if you don't get rattled in the beginning, it's already gone. The ship has sailed, dude. Like, you don't get it. The fact that you have to call my head agent, right, who has been the most kick butt, right, agent that you can honestly in this day and age in Hollywood, yeah, I feel so lucky to have this person behind me because of people like this casting director.
So, just to kind of clarify for the listeners at home, what Lanny's kind of describing here is the fact that after this whole situation, he immediately went to his agent and was like, what the heck? Like what did I just experience? Like, am I crazy? And, you know, she, like me, like Danny, we all just went, no, like, that was awful. Like, what just happened? This woman, if she's not a racist, then she's just a monster.
Which is even worse.
Yeah, for speaking to you that way. And the fact of the matter is that people in your position typically can't stand up and say, don't speak to me like that, because they'll lose their job. They might never get brought into that casting office again, which is going to hinder their career forever. And I do want to kind of continue with that, because I don't know, I haven't necessarily, I mean, I've been assaulted in work by people, like I've had jobs held over my head in exchange for sex. You know, one of the leading magazines in the world, that happened to me, and it took him 5 years to fire the guy, and he did it to about 5 or 6 other people. Jesus. And yeah, if anyone wants to know the name of the company, just hit me up and I'll tell you. But it tracks along the same thing. You know, we're looking at people's behaviors and their actions against others, not just the words. And I think, I don't know, like I have the kind of freedom where within my career, I can just be like, oh, screw you guys, I'm just going to go work for myself. I don't know, Danny, you probably have somewhat of a similar situation now. You can kind of, you know, if anyone ever spoke to you like that in work, you could just turn around and be like, I'm not going to work here anymore. But most people don't have that opportunity.
That's the thing. I mean, my thing is I don't work for anybody.
Yeah.
I don't want to work for anybody. But, you know, going back to what you said, if, like in my mentor's company, if that ever happened, fired.
On the spot.
On the spot.
Exactly.
On the spot. No matter what.
But it's Hollywood, ladies and gentlemen, and it is a place of facades.
Lies.
But the thing is, when you do meet the good people, they're the most beautiful, artistic, crazy oddballs that you will fall in love with. And those are the people that I will hold dear to my heart. And that's why I am still in this industry, is because of those people. But it is littered. It is littered and pervasive with people like we have just discussed. And it needs to be finished. And I guarantee you, the ones who are going, yeah, you are the problem too. Straight up. Look in the mirror. Like, for me too, I hear myself talking and I can hear the anger and I can hear the frustrations, and that's what most people see, and I need to learn how to kind of deliver that message more kindly.
No, I'm sorry. I completely disagree. But when we come back after the break, we're going to get more into this. I want to talk about... comparing, I mean, again, going back, we're going to compare Hollywood and politics again, guys. We're going to get into talking about race. I also want to talk about that show Cuties. Movie Cuties.
Yeah.
You are listening to the Kay Smythe Show on KABC. It's a beautiful Friday night, guys. We have so much more to complain about, so don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. It's going to get really rough. Welcome back to the Kay Smythe Show on KABC. It's wonderful to have you. We're going to get straight into it in this segment, and we are... Okay, so I may actually... You know what? Let me back up. We're not actually going to get straight into it this segment, because I need to preface this a bit. So in my real world job, I'm an academic and private and public sector consultant. I work mostly in human capital. If you have a problem that pertains to people, I can fix it for you. Just get in touch. One of the things that's been coming up a lot this week, guys, is this new Netflix show, or movie.
Yeah, geez.
I know, right? I think most people listening know what we're going to talk about already is the movie Cuties. Now, okay, so because I don't want to be a hypocrite. I mean, I am a hypocrite in so many ways. So many ways. But I didn't want to be a hypocrite and talk about the show today without having at least tried to watch. Oh, I keep talking about show. It's a movie.
Yeah.
I kind of forced Lanny to start watching it with me this weekend. I was like, you know what? It's on. Everyone's talking about it. We can't say we can't even have an opinion on it until we at least give this thing a go. Right. So I go into it thinking, okay, this is going to be a docu-series like that show Cheer, which was brilliant, by the way, on Netflix. Like really, really brilliant docu-series if you guys haven't seen it. But no, it was a movie, firstly, and it was a fiction, is a fiction. So this is not something that, Cuties is not like a competition where a documentary crew has come in and chosen to film child exploitation in this way. No, someone decided one day to write this film. Conversations were had in rooms with very powerful people to finance this film. Other people said, okay, let's definitely make this film. Let's hold auditions for all of these children and let's have them come in and twerk for us and act like strippers and do things that no child should be doing. And the best part is the way that they can, I've only seen the intro. I've literally seen up until the protagonist sees the first girl dancing, because as soon as we saw that, and I tell everyone, go and watch the first 5 minutes and you'll have to turn it off because you will feel physically disgusting watching this film. And you will cringe at yourself by I hate myself for knowing that we watched those few minutes. And that's in our digital footprint.
I don't mean to interrupt you whatsoever, and I'm sorry, but if you go past that 5 minutes and you still want to watch it,
you have an issue.
You have a straight issue.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
We had a friend who came by and he was, disgusted talking to us about this show, and we were like, let's just check it out. But he refused because he just knew in his gut that it's just wrong.
We should have listened to Kenny.
100%. 100%. Because the second we opened this show, which we thought was a documentary, first of all.
Yeah. We thought it was a television show. We thought it was a docu-series.
And it's a straight fiction written, I believe, by an African-American woman who directed it.
I'm not sure. I haven't actually looked up. I just tweeted about who the F wrote this movie.
Right. But I'll just explain what we saw. It was the protagonist walking into a laundromat, and this girl, maybe not even 10 years old, is in leather pants, dancing to this song, doing laundry, but the shot is of her butt.
Yeah, it's just all you can see is this 10-year-old's ass shaking.
My hands are sweating.
I mean, we talk about a lot what it's going to be like when we have children, when we start our family. And, I grew up modeling. I've dealt with my fair share of what that industry throws at you. I say all the time, how I would never let my children get involved in it in this day and age. I just wouldn't. It's not safe, especially thanks to the internet. I mean, gosh, we even watched The Social Dilemma this weekend. I don't even want a phone anymore. I guess I have to because, of what I do for a living. Right. But the fact of the matter is that Netflix put this show out, or this movie out. They were completely fine with that. And okay, yeah, we didn't watch the whole thing, but after just that first shot, no one needs to watch the whole thing. This is child exploitation. The children who are in this movie, I dread to think what this is going to do long term to their mental, physical health. I don't want to know what happened in the making of this movie. I genuinely dread to think, because as far as what I've been told by all my friends all my female friends who are still in the entertainment industry, yeah, the Me Too movement happened. What that guaranteed was that a certain number of people were gotten rid of. It's definitely now easier to report when you get raped or assaulted, but nothing really changed for me. I was still having jobs held over my head in exchange for sex, which obviously I didn't take. I think that from what I've been told by my friends in the industry, it's still the easiest way to guarantee getting a role. And the fact of the matter is, not only now have you got, like, let's be honest, we still haven't, like, no one really knows what happened to Jeffrey Epstein. He didn't kill himself. It was normalized, and we knew about the pedophile rings in politics for years. We know about Bill Clinton being on those flights. We know that is normalized. We know that, and I hate when people are like, oh, it's underage sex with women. Oh, it's underage sex with, young men. No, it's child rape. That's what it is. If you are having sex underage, you are being raped and you are a child. And that's just normalized now in politics. And we're just not going to talk about the fact that Hillary Clinton's husband was fine with being known for that. He's fine going out in public. We're not going to shame him for that. We're not going to shame Jacob Blake for being a rapist. We're going to congratulate him for surviving being shot by a cop. And we're going to, not to like carry on this filibuster, because I know I'm getting like really amped, but now we're supposed to be comfortable with the fact that Netflix, who I don't understand how they make money, I'm convinced they're a money laundering scheme. I just cannot fathom how they make money, like not to the extent that they do anyway. But we now have to sit down as a supposedly, quote, developed society and be comfortable with the fact that this movie didn't need to be made, but it was. Some very important people sat down and said, let's make this movie. And now it's been made and it's out there. And I'm sorry, this isn't the same as Trainspotting. This isn't the same as, what was the one that Python did that got in a lot of trouble?
Monty Python?
Yeah, there was the Monty Python. It's like The Life of Brian. This isn't The Life of Brian. We're not making fun of religion. We're not glorifying drug use, which, by the way, Trainspotting didn't do. Trainspotting is the best anti-drugs film of all time. Like, what we've now done is normalize pedophilia. And then we've got Gavin Newsom doing what he's just done.
We're freaking talking about it like it's a normal topic of conversation. I
mean, it is. It's normalized now.
What?
Which is crazy.
I mean, what's crazy is I want to ask, and I asked this question not coming from a politically chosen place, but I really ask the people who support the Clintons, who support Biden and Kamala Harris, everything that Kay just said, it's not coming from an opinion perspective. These are actual facts. And so to the people who support these politicians, I would love to hear what your argument is or what your rebuttal is. Is it that are we wrong in our facts? Is that what it is?
No.
Are we what in the equation of this conversation? What is missing?
Do you know what I think people will say? They'll turn around and go, oh, well, you know what? So you support Trump? No. Do I? I do not.
It's going to come out.
I mean, that's what people are going to say. They're going to be like, oh, well, if you're shredding them, then you must be pro-Trump. And the first thing I'm going to say is, firstly, I can't vote. Like, so I can't vote in favor of anyone.
There you go.
And I honestly think that it is the responsibility of the American public to want better for their politicians. Like, if your choices are between a guy who says that he wants to grab women by the what's-it. Sorry, I know so many women that have been involved in the Miss World, Miss Universe. I know a lot of people who are close friends with Donald Trump. I know a lot of people who like spending time with him. You know what? I don't think he's actually ever grabbed anyone in that way. Like, I think he's a guy who, like we were talking about the other day, locker room talk. Babe, when we're at home, we are so vulgar with one another. Like, disgusting the way we talk. Like, the way we talk about our sex life with each other. Like, it's heinous. Because when you're at home, you want to be able to express and get that stuff out of your system. I would never, ever speak to another human being in that way. And I wouldn't, like, physically put my hands on another human being.
Right.
And most people are going to turn around and say, yeah, like, oh, that must mean you're, like, pro-Trump or whatever. And it's not. I'm pro whoever you can find me as a politician who doesn't do this stuff. If you can find me someone who's not even rumored to have done this, like, I don't know, who would be a good person then for president?
Oh, jeez. Who knows?
Jesus.
But what? But when did understanding become agreeing? Like,
yeah,
we are trying to understand the situation. Specifically, we're trying to understand, quote unquote, the other side, right? Why does that equal agreeing? Like, maybe this might be a stupid example. Hitler, right? we know probably we're trying to understand why someone like Hitler became the person he did, why he did what he did, but it doesn't mean we agree with what he did. We're trying to understand what his psyche is. We have to understand what is wrong with our society or whatever it is to actually make a change. But right now, we can't even scratch the surface because we just keep throwing these words of rocks at each other.
And we keep voting in people who normalize and accept and brush this stuff under the rug. And I mean, like, it's not just like we're not even just talking about pedophilia, I guess, in this context. We're also talking about race. But when we come back, we're going to keep getting into this. We're going to keep calling out Netflix for what they've done. This is the Kay Smythe Show on KABC. And we want you to come in and argue with us about politics and all those sorts of things. So tune in. Okay. Welcome back to the Kay Smythe Show on KABC. Again, here with Danny Ho, my amazing co-host, and Lanny June for week 2 of 10 weeks of radio. I think we're also going to be here next week as well, next Friday, 10 p.m., same time every week. So, in the last segment, we were talking about the new show Cuties, and just, again, we were kind of just touching on hypocrisy. We started out the show talking about race. We then moved into pedophilia because we're just trying to outline all of the best things that the DNC like to do. But as I teased in the last segment, we're going to kind of talk about Netflix now, because even though the movie Cuties should be banned and never spoken about again, there is a new hashtag trending, which is hashtag cancel Netflix. And to be honest with you, like, if it weren't for, well, I guess actually I saw you on Hulu, so that doesn't really count. So we would have met if there wasn't any Netflix. But, you know, I mean, like, if it weren't for Netflix, I mean, we certainly wouldn't have any entertainment right now. I mean, streaming wouldn't exist. Okay, my question for you two then, both of you, has cancel culture gone too far when one network or one, I guess, streaming service, one content distributor, distributes one thing that's obviously horrendous? Like, should they be cancelled altogether? And if so, what does cancel Netflix look like to California? I mean, and the work that we do here.
No, go ahead.
I think my immediate answer is no. But then again, like, case by case, right? It's, if Netflix came out with a show glorifying mass murdering babies, you know, I would like to think that if it continued creating shows like that, yeah, absolutely cancel Netflix.
So that's my fear, you know, with this whole Cuties coming out. I feel like unless the industry does something about this, it's the gateway to more shows like Cuties. And of course it can get worse, right? And
well, yeah, that's like,
we're all afraid of that.
That's the normalization culture. And yeah, what Danny's just touched upon is completely correct. It's this thing where if we let one mindset go too far, I mean, that's why we have the war on drugs, right? Is because a bunch of people couldn't figure out how to monetize and use drugs responsibly, like, last century. So we decided to perpetuate a war against them in order to, I can't remember what that was even for. Did we fund arms trafficking with cocaine? I can't remember what it was exactly. But it's this kind of misdiagnosis of an issue in the case of the war on drugs, where we looked at drugs and thought, okay, if, you know, one person uses drugs and dies from it, then we should outlaw them for everyone. But what we've done now is create a movie and release it. Most people who watch it won't go out and rape children, but the fact of the matter is that they might. And the difference being, if someone goes out and uses drugs and dies from them, they're not going to go and hurt anyone else. They're just hurting themselves. Whereas if you allow for this show to get made and you normalize having sex with children, then a lot of children are going to have their lives destroyed and will never recover. And that kind of normalization is wrong. And I do agree, for the first time in my life, that we should actually, I think we should cancel Cuties 100%.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But I also think we should have canceled things like Toddlers and Tiaras and stuff. I mean,
Agreed.
that was horrific when it came out in the first place.
It's in the same trajectory.
Yeah.
you're sexualizing babies, for crying out loud.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a reason why we don't listen to Lost Prophets anymore, right? Like, we were just talking about this, because if it were up to me, and like, obviously the events of, I mean, if you don't know who Lost Prophets are, just you don't need to know. It's just going to ruin your day if you go and look this up. But let's just say the frontman did pretty much the worst thing you can do. He's now in prison and probably will be forever. I'm pretty sure someone, if he's not dead already, someone will kill him in prison, especially because he's in prison in Wales. And, well, actually, that brings up to another point, the fact that Florida just created, I think, was it the death penalty for pedophilia? And then, good on
you, Florida.
And then we've just we've pretty much legalized it here in California because Gavin Newsom is just disgusting. Maybe that's for another show.
I mean, the culture of cancel culture, right? I think the culture itself is wrong. It's we live in America to have our own freedoms, right? And we're now basically telling other people how to live. Mm-hmm. Granted, the topic of the situation is absolutely horrid, right? Which is cuties.
But there's a difference between freedom of speech and thought versus freedom of action.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's twofold for me. Remember, there's a recent story where a Chinese professor was just recently fired from USC for saying the word. It's a Chinese word, and it means, it's a filler word like, and it's pronounced naga. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah, if you guys want to tune into the LDK project on Spotify, we talked about it yesterday.
Yeah, and so in that, I guess that kind of coincides with cancel culture, right? Mm-hmm. This professor was fired for speaking his own language to his students and then some of the students got offended, told that to the school board, and the school board followed through, fired the professor, and issued an apology to the students or to the public. Are you kidding me? The fact that that's even an issue of topic, the fact that we're even talking about pedophilia, to see whether it is legal or not, are you freaking kidding me?
Like that, this is the craziest thing I think about 2020 is just in like this one show, I think we've broken down like race, sex, work. Gosh, we're just hitting every single thing because we've literally gone insane. Right. We're firing people for speaking their native language instead of bothering to learn or even ask what they were talking about. We're normalizing the sexualization of children, and we're celebrating political contenders who also congratulate rapists on surviving getting shot by the cops. And I heard someone talk about this earlier, and I hate to digress again, but for a cop to actually get to the point of shooting you, you have to have done a lot up until that point. And this guy, I guess, ran at them with a knife, and that's all that they had left to finally do was to shoot him after he was, quote, resisting arrest. And none of these things should be up for debate. Right. If you rape someone and you get shot, you're lucky. You're lucky that you just got shot. Right. If you want to make a movie glorifying the sexualization of children, I'm sorry, but Roman Polanski can't come to this country anymore as a result of his actions against children. And yet we just allowed this movie to be streamed into every single home in the world, basically.
Right.
And yeah, going back to your point as well, it's just, it's people taking actions that exponentially hurt more people than just themselves. And that's normal, and it's been celebrated, and we will get, quote, cancelled for calling this stuff out. Thankfully, again, we don't, Danny and I don't have to worry about that. But Lenny, you're in the entertainment industry, and this is something that we had to talk about a lot before we even did this show.
Yeah, because, again, I said this on the last show, we are always afraid of biting the hand that feeds you, and we're very, very aware of who feeds us, right? Netflix is a big, big company, and there's wonderful people that work there. I've met them, I've worked with them, and they're fabulous. This is not a personal issue with the people that work at Netflix. This is because on a personal level, yeah, I love Netflix. Absolutely love them. But when they come out with shows like Cuties, how do you support Netflix in that manner? Do I support cancel culture? 100% no. But do I think that a show or a movie like Cuties should be canceled? Yes.
So, question, guys, because that behavior, I think you've just absolutely nailed it. Who of us at home doesn't have someone that we love dearly who maybe thinks a little bit differently to us?
Right.
Who maybe has one aspect of their personality that we wouldn't necessarily subscribe to ourselves. So like for me and my mum, hi mum, I would say that that's her. I don't even know how to describe the way that she cleans other than like, she's basically like a cleaning fascist. Like she just nonstop just cleans all day, every day. It's just clean, clean, clean. I'd never understood it. And to the point where like she and I used to argue about it, right? But then I got to the point where I was like, oh, you know what? Just because I'm not going to clean up as much as her doesn't mean that I should get angry at her for cleaning a lot. In the same way that she can't get angry at me for not wanting to clean as much as her, okay? So it's like that weird, like very soft kind of dichotomy there. It's a difference, but it's not worth arguing about. So my question is then, where is the line for you guys when it comes to having arguments or debates with friends and loved ones about this? Because we have a lot of friends who, like, okay, so Kenny, I think, actually took it to an even further, like, he literally got up and walked out of our house when I was like, you know what, let's try and watch this movie. He literally couldn't even entertain that. And that's not something I'm ever going to judge him for. Like, not. Now I'm like, God, I wish I hadn't even seen what I saw.
Right.
But where is that line? Like, does it come in politics? Does it come in words? Does it come in action? What is that for you guys? Danny?
Go ahead, Lenny. I want to hear him talk first.
I mean, that's the hard issue. Is it a line, or is it like, do you draw a line around the situation? Because it's not a black and white, always a black and white situation, and that's why it's so difficult. Because it takes thought and intelligence to be malleable. Mm-hmm. Everyone is so hard lined right now to believe a certain way, and I'm not saying you're right or you're wrong, but leave a little within yourself to maybe think that what you think is incorrect. And with that said, that gives you the allowance to open a minuscule window to your ear, to the people that you deem wrong.
Completely agree. Mm-hmm.
That's the only way we're going to be able to live with the people that are wrong, quote unquote wrong. But again, we live in a world where we need a left and a right. We need a right and a wrong. We need the opposites to exist. I mean, that's another topic I guess we can go on, but geez.
So we're actually coming to the end of the show now, but when you guys tune in again next week for the Kay Smythe Show on KABC, we're going to actually be continuing with this conversation. We thought that it was going to be a different guest every episode, but it turns out that the three of us are brilliant and we don't need anyone else. Just kidding. There's going to be more interesting people as we go through the series, so thank you. Go to kaysmythe.com for more information and check us out on YouTube, and also go to the LDK Project on Spotify and listen to us.
And Instagram.
Oh, and Instagram. Just do it.
And then get off of social media.
Get off.
Thanks for coming in, Lenny.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, so next episode.